we're live, folks, back again. This is your host of Lit Literature, JP, aka The Demon, and we are here finally to discuss The Burning White.
Yay!
We all finished.
Yay!
It was quite the endeavor.
It was a long book.
It was a long book.
It was really long.
It was like 2 books in one.
Seriously.
Yeah, it did feel that way. Seriously. Seriously. Okay, you're here with, well, me and the crew. So let's go around the circle. Around the circle. Not round circle, or circles are round, Ben.
Thank you. I am the cherry. How's it going?
I'm Brent the director.
Even the dream. I skipped you because you already introduced yourself.
Yeah, I said myself.
I barely even heard it.
I heard it. You said the hitman.
So
I heard
sly.
him.
So sly. All right.
Well, he is a hitman. So.
Ben slid his name in there like a knife between 2 ribs.
Or horn. All right. So let's get this discussion started. I don't even know where to begin on this freaking.
I know,
It's so insane.
This book was crazy.
Let's talk about overall impressions.
Overall
Overall
impressions.
impressions, I
Spoiler-free overall impressions. What do you guys think?
Oh.
Cherry, you want to start?
So this book was like definitely the quintessential like finish of a series, an epic, because it goes the final kind of like climactic ending isn't really even like a climax. It's like just this giant like mountain, because it's like half of the book is all the end, wrapping everything up. So it is like action packed for half of the entire book. The first half was not slow at all. It was a great kind of like culmination of the other 4 books. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this book. The last book really brought together the whole story. It was a very good finishing book. Didn't end weak. Like I was reading it, I was like, man, I think I'm getting to the end soon. And then I was like, oh, I still have 10 hours left. Like, what are they gonna do for these 10 hours? It was just so good. When I finished it, I was like, I need to read this book again. I need to read the series again.
Yeah.
But I don't have the time.
Because the podcast is in 20 minutes. I felt the same way. I absolutely loved this book. I loved the series. I thought it ended satisfactorily. In a satisfying way.
We'll discuss this.
I really, after this series, I'm a big fan of Brent Weeks now, and I want to check out his other series. I hope we do that on the podcast at some point.
Yeah.
But I will say this, though, is that I do feel like a lot of the stuff that we talked about that I was hoping would be answered, not necessarily plot point-wise, but just world-wise. I feel like a lot of it, not expecting for it to be explained, but a lot of it wasn't explained. Like, I still feel like there's a lot of questions I have about the world and how it all works, but maybe that's just stuff that I missed. But, yeah, I hope he keeps expanding on this universe. I hope that this isn't, like, the last story that we see involving all this. I hope he does, like, a Sanderson type thing where it's just, like, tons of different series all coming into this universe. I can't say Cosmere, but... yeah, Cosmos.
Yeah, not a Cosmere, whatever he calls it. Which
his is the Cosmere. Oh, whatever Brent Weeks calls it. Yeah, Sanderson is the Cosmere.
I did really enjoy the book. It was humongous. There was a ton of stuff crammed in there. And to be honest, I think there was actually too much. There were times when literally you could tell he was just deciding that it doesn't really matter to elaborate on this or that. And he's just got to kind of leave it because he's just got too much stuff to cram in here. So, but he talked a little bit about that, and I can appreciate that. He knew he really needed to get it done. It had already expanded. If he let it just continue on, the danger of scope creep would just explode. So I loved it. There were some things that maybe we didn't get the answers we wanted to, or we're hoping for, but it doesn't mean that we won't get them ever, it seems like.
Right.
So that's awesome. And then the intensity. I was really confused because about partway through it felt like everything was about to end. And then it just kept going. And going. And going. And then there was like another level to the intensity, just like a bar, notched up. I was very emotional at the end.
Oh my God,
At certain scenes.
I feel like
won't
I
say
cried
about
5
them.
million times.
There was a lot of crying and like kind of like, wait, what? No, yes, no, maybe. I don't know. You'll see.
Like, yes, no,
Yeah.
maybe.
So that was my thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was very, very well written. The book, I think, really, or even the series in general, just demands a lot of your attention. So the author is like definitely someone that makes you pay attention to everything, because otherwise you're gonna miss the whole point of a chapter if you just miss a couple sentences.
I had to go back a few times to just be like, wait a second, what?
He's a rewind author.
Yeah. Also, for anybody, this is a side note, but just for everyone that's watching this, and you saw Jeffrey playing with this pad over here, it's literally black right now. Like, there's nothing here. I don't know what he was doing, but
I already read it.
the book was very satisfying. I think that it ended things, but it didn't end them in a way that you're like, oh, it's over. But it ended them in a way like, oh, this part of it is complete.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. There was a lot of things that happened that I wasn't expecting, and some things that happened that I was expecting, and there was a lot of emotion that I was going through, and I feel like there's too many times when I was just like bawling, and I'm like, why am I doing this? But no, it was really, really good, and it was really interesting because I feel like he did that with some of the minor characters, or people that I thought were more so minor or side characters, that there's so much more development that happened in just like one paragraph with that character. I don't know. It was really intense. It was cool. I liked it. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, so now that we got through our kind of spoiler-free review, I mean, as best as we kind of worked through that, we are now moving on to discuss everything portion of the podcast. So if you are still listening, it is time to stop unless you have finished The Burning Light.
If you're still listening, stop paying attention to us.
Yeah. Seriously, last chance.
No, really. This is...
I wipe my hands clean of this.
All right.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, stop watching. Because that's in the book.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Let's start at the very beginning. We had some amazing Brett bets, by the way, that we were making in the previous episodes that we do get the answers
Yes,
to.
we do.
Yeah, we got the answer to a lot of them.
We do. But let's start at the beginning. I think we start off with Teia. And if you recall, I was absolutely bloody convinced that Teia was going to jump on the damn boat. She was going to go with Gavin/Dazen all the way to AKA Mission, and there was going to be all kinds of weird drama that happened. Well, not that there wasn't weird drama that was happening, but I thought she would be involved in it. Turns out, slapped me in the face. Brent Weeks said, no, that's not what it is. She's jumping on the boat. She talks to Gavin. Gavin convinces her to just get out of here. Go fight the Order. Go find your dad, and that's it. And that, like, from the get-go, that threw me from like a total loop. My thought was she was going to be going along. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought that was awesome that she decided to stay, because I too was pretty convinced. I'm like, oh, she's like, here are all the things she's gonna do in her adventure, how she's gonna help Gavin, how everything is gonna like go down, and then all of a sudden she's just like not there, and you're like, oh, okay. And her story was so much better, being able to go through her interactions with her life in the Jaspers and trying to like stay hidden. That was such a good, like, you got to see, and if you loved her before, you probably love her like 10 times more throughout the rest of this, because every point it's just like constant, like, almost like anguish for her and like crazy stuff, and she's just such an amazing character, but you get so much growth and like development, and it makes her really like human and kind of give you a really awesome connection with her. So I think it was so much better for it.
Yeah, it's really like, I loved her and hated her some moments, because a lot of times I was just angry at her. Like, she just judged Kira so harshly sometimes. And like, I thought it was unfair, but like, we know what's happening with Kira, and of course Teia doesn't, but she's still like, oh, this bitch, how can she judge me like that?
Yeah.
And how can she be weak? But she just realized that Kira is human too, and struggling with all these choices that
Dude.
making it.
I don't know about you guys. I got this like terribly paranoid feeling when that scene was happening.
Yeah, she
When
kept.
Teia was there, like she just waited all night staring at her while she was
Yeah.
sleeping. Like,
I
I don't know,
kill her.
annoying. I was just like,
Well, she
oh my
kept,
god, dude, something
flip-flopping.
bad is gonna happen because of this.
Yeah, she kept flip flopping like, "Oh, I'm just gonna join the Order for good because there's no way the
Yeah.
Cosmere can win." And it's like, "Nope, I'm gonna join the Cosmere because
A lot of internal.
I can't deal with the Order."
Yeah.
He did Brent Weeks did a great job of using her as a point of like tension. Like her internal,
Yes.
like there were lots of points. I don't know if he ever played with the idea of making her turn or not, but there were times where I was just like, oh my gosh, is she just gonna like fucking flip on us? You know?
I know.
I am so glad she didn't. But
I know,
was
me too,
worried
because I really like her as a character. Obviously, I wouldn't
Yeah.
like her as much if she did, but
Well, I think like also you get to find out about Murder Sharp, and it's like he is
Holy
what
crap.
he is exactly what if she did turn.
Yeah.
and like I think that was like a cool way of kind of dissuading her, because I think it was like you said almost like 50-50, and then she starts to kind of learn a little bit more about him. And,
Elijah.
And I think it's kind of,
Elijah.
I think that point is kind of also sad in a way where it's like, we know Teia, we've gotten to know her, we like Teia, she made different choices, but it's like, you could totally see an alternate universe that the exact things didn't play out how they did, where she does turn into a murder sharp. It's like the same person has different possibilities where you don't know what the one little thing is that made it go this way rather
or
than that
if
way.
Murder
Or the one
Sharp
big thing.
could have been the one to
Exactly.
be like actually
hero.
bring the
Yeah.
Right.
Eye of the Broken Order down, because he was kind of charged with doing the same thing, and then he
Yeah.
just was all of a sudden it was so secretive that he was just left there.
was
It's
no
like, well, I guess I guess I'm
The prism died, and then no one knew about him.
yeah.
I remember thinking at one point that it'd be interesting to see like a version of the book where like Teia finds out, like obviously realizes Murder Sharp is just like kind of digging on her and like manipulates him to become like a good guy or to become like on their side, because I could see that happening, because he had this like whole fantasy played out in his head.
Yeah.
I was going to be your mentor and we were going to travel the world, and at first I would refuse, but then it's like I think it's funny that this stone cold murderous villain has this idea in his head where, well, to be a good guy I'd have to refuse at first. It's like such a weird mindset.
He was
so
a very
interesting.
very interesting guy.
He was just a very conflicted guy.
Yeah, it's so crazy because you do see the sparks of good in him, but even me, I'm doubting him constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And then at the end, well, we'll talk about that part a little bit later. But when he's like, "I wouldn't do that to you," it's like,
After
well,
saying,
you
well,
shouldn't-
I'm gonna do it
You
too.
honestly
Yeah.
shouldn't be pretending to do that to me then.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
Yeah.
But
well, this is so warped he's become.
Yeah.
What he thinks is good is evil now.
Yeah.
And like he still holds himself apart from the Order, kind of.
Yeah.
And I think he actually thought about leaving the Order with Teia.
yeah. I think he
Yeah.
might have.
But he's
I
like,
think
no.
that's why he let her go. And
Yeah.
I think he truly, the threat of like, next time I find you, I'll kill you kind of thing was probably really like, I need time to decide whether I'll kill you or not.
Or how
If I
to
hunt, if I go and hunt you down, of course, then we find out what a peril person breaking the halo might be like. Which, woo! But okay, so Teia, she doesn't go on the boat. She does decide she's going to live alone, though, in isolation, to try to hunt the Order members and find her dad. Which, like you guys were all mentioning, drives her down to the pit of like solitaire, or solitude and darkness in her own
Solidarity?
head.
Yeah.
You could tell how much she like missed and craved her team, the mighty,
Human
and her
interaction.
friends
Yeah.
and her human. But Karis notices and sets her up with Quentin.
Quentin.
Yes.
Quentin was so good
Yeah.
in this book. Yeah.
Who's now wearing a bunch of gold as Karis' slave, and just become like a really pretty holy kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super like understanding and like an amazing character overall. Like he just turns out like his development is one of those ones where it's like you kind of get a little bit of his point of view, but from like kind of how he was in previous books, he was just so cool and so awesome in this book, and especially how he kind of what he does for Teia and like being there for her, being that only human interaction she was allowed.
You know what I'm kind of thinking? now that we're talking about, because there's just so many damned events in this or Holem's sake book, and so what I was wondering is, should we just kind of go at characters and talk like through the crazy stuff that they had to go through? It'll probably semi-link stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's just go down and see what
it brings us.
Yeah, whatever.
Because in that case, then we got to talk a little bit about like
Murder Sharp.
what Murder Sharp found. So Murder Sharp, because we're going Teia, we're naturally getting into Murder Sharp, and they'll.
Wait, but are we done with Teia already? Because I feel like
we're coming back to Teia many a time. Okay, but Teia,
can we call her by her real name, Andrestia?
Andrestia.
So cute.
So Murder Sharp has the documents that Karis was supposed to get from the White, and he reads them and flips out. Of course, he flips out even more because the seer that he killed, General Danavis's wife, the third eye, kind of told him exactly what she thought he needed to see to kind of just screw with him hard.
Gave him his real name.
She was so impressive.
She was amazing.
And it really screwed with him that happened. And you realize Teia says it many times, but the Order is actually not that good. I mean, they have the cloaks that make you invisible, but it's really Murder Sharp.
Right.
He's like the one that is that good.
She's like, they're not all as great as he is. And he's like the only really threatening one to her.
To her, yeah.
And they use a lot of like fear tactics and like all kinds of
mystery.
I think that they're really, really good with manipulating human emotion and breaking people down. Like, the whole thing, like even Teia coming to terms and understanding all the processes that she was going through with them and
killing
the slaves and
which
everything.
Murder
and she's
Sharp
like,
had done.
oh, like I was kind of telling myself this is okay because of this and this. Like, I don't know. It was just so crazy how they were like, when she's going through it, she's like, man, like my mind is so messed up right now that I think it's almost better for me to use my powers and learn something by killing this person. I'm no longer thinking like I should be preserving life as much as possible.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so crazy. And she has that realization and she's like, man, these people are like really good. They know exactly what they're doing. Like, I think I'm trying to get one up when really they're feeding me all of this so that
breaking her little by little.
Yeah.
By little.
Oh, man,
and even
it's
she
so
was
intense.
like, thankfully for Quentin, as we go back to Quentin, like helping her with that. Because she was like, I'm just going to kill her. I'm going to torture her. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then Quentin is there kind of like as the little good conscious that she's losing. Right?
Oh, when she had to go, she found out that her old slave owner.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah,
was the one in the order, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna enjoy this killing." And Quentin's like, "Should you?
Yeah.
Really? Do you need to do this?" And he doesn't judge her, which is amazing. How they kind of like went through that. He does
his whole conversation.
Yeah, and how Brent Weeks wrote that with the ability of getting this like, kind of the point across that. Yeah, how Quentin is so good at kind of being the perfect person for her at that moment, in terms of not judging, saying like, you have to do it. And she's like, I know I do. I have to do it. And he's like, you're right, you do. And then, but just that little seed, like, but is it, do you have to torture her? Like, is it, why are you doing it? Don't lose that. Because you have to kill her, but it's the why that is really gonna make it, whether it's an okay thing or not an okay thing.
Dude, such an awesome little intricacy. But that scene where he was describing how she was like folding her into the chute, the chute and everything. I'm just like, oh my god, oh that is so dark. It's just like, oh my god. It just was good. I was like, oh,
down to the septic tank or whatever. The
in a bag with like just letting enough gas out to like make
not
it,
rot too much.
Oh Jesus, the science behind it. But
I really liked the scene too because I felt
reminded you of work.
On the scene.
Ben's like, let me tell you a couple things that Teia did well.
Yeah.
The scene when she meets I don't know if it's a slave girl or like a Luxiat in training.
Yeah.
In the hallway. It's like, oh, I gotta kill her.
Oh yeah.
And she does put a twist on her, and it's like, I can't kill an innocent anymore. And that was like the changing point for her because she went back and took it out of her.
To be honest, I don't know if she would have done that if Ben Haydad wasn't, like the Mighty weren't back. It was like the Mighty was back, and she felt like she could like kind of rejoin that
humanity almost.
If Ben Haydad wasn't there and she was alone and ran into that girl, I think she would have killed her.
Maybe. I'm hoping like her time with not Winston.
Quentin.
Yeah.
was helping her out, and she would have done it anyways.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely helped that Ben was there.
Yeah, Ben Haddad being there was like I think it was a big help.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Definitely
one, when he
seems to
was
ring
back.
true to like real life. Like I feel like a lot of people that do bad things, you come to find out that now it's not necessarily causative, but you come to find out that a lot of them are kind of like alone and don't really have a big support system. Like I could see feeling alienated would make you separate your mindset against people as well.
Correct,
you
yeah.
know, whereas when you're reminded
Feel a little
of
bit
the
more
people
separated.
around you, it can make you humanize the people you don't know as well.
Exactly.
you know?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because that person might be somebody else's friend. Like, yeah, I agree.
So we're kind of saving Tia's soul there in that point, but then Sharp, he had found all the documentation. He gave them to Tia. I almost couldn't. That's when I knew like his allegiance was not.
Dude, I loved that scene. I was like,
He was
what?
freaking out. He was so insane. She was thinking like, how can I escape? How can I escape? Can I do it right now? Because he's like on a tear. But he was literally so distraught by what he read in that documentation. Yeah. Apparently, it's all crazy. Like, ever since they had a psychopath prism, they lost the blinding knife and they started to use it to just...
No, they lost
a lot of the blinding knives because there used to be more.
What they did is they lost the natural born ones.
Yes.
Because one decided to, instead of giving up at the end, he decided to force his way to stay prism. And who was it?
And then he became the...
it started with a V.
Yeah.
Like he did become a sea demon.
He became a sea demon, but yeah, he was the first one. And then apparently after that, like, Orholum, like, kind of abandoned them.
Well,
and
he
they
kept sending
making
prophets, and then they kept hanging the prophets.
Oh, yeah.
And then they outlawed the prophets. So...
Yeah, and so they had to make them artificially.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, I did not expect that's how. I knew that's how they made prisms, but
Well,
I
we
didn't expect
knew,
them
we knew, but we didn't know
exactly what.
Exactly what.
Because it stabbed Gavin, and he was fine. It's like, oh, they just take someone's colors.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an ability.
Yeah.
And that's bad, but what they were doing was so much worse.
I know.
So
oh
intense.
My God, it was
Yeah.
so much
Wow.
worse. It's crazy. And like, but they were trying to justify it through their own.
It's the same thing. What happened to Teia is just chipping away. Oh, we can kill these adults and take the powers.
Yeah.
Hundreds of them, and then someone's like, "Well, we do this. We can only kill 7 children.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it'd be so much better."
Yeah.
Because we're not killing as many people.
Yeah.
That is intensely, like, crazy.
But then they're still doing the.
But even if you're looking at it logically as a psychopath,
Yeah.
Right.
it still doesn't potentially make sense because it's like, well, a life isn't a life. You also have to take into account how much life does that life potentially have in front of them. So an
Right.
adult would have less life in front of them. A child would have more. So the
impact on
impact
lives.
might actually even
But it's
out.
weird, too, that they
So
stopped.
even from a crazy point of view, it might not make
What's
sense.
weird, though, is they kept doing the freeing, but they didn't keep doing the freeing with the blinding knife.
I think
They
they
lost
did.
the blending knife.
Well,
Because they lost the blinding knife.
Until they lost.
But they only
it.
lost the blinding knife like 10 years prior to the
16.
books. Or 16.
It was
So,
during the war, Andros
Yeah.
took it
so
because he wanted
before
to use
then, they used the blinding knife to kill during the freeing, but then it wouldn't have killed people.
It would kill some.
Some, but you would think that they say now you have to kill people.
No, it did-
You have to kill them. Everyone loses the halo. Or breaks the halo, and they had to kill him.
How did they describe? They explained it though, because I think what happened.
The white went
The
dead.
white went dead, and so all as it was doing was stealing all their powers, and then it would kill them. It would work.
Oh,
like a
because
knife.
there was no white in it anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
there was no
what
balance between
originally
red and
what would
black.
happen is, depending on how you used your powers, if you got stabbed,
Yeah.
It would give you back your power or sanity and close your halo back.
it would close your halo,
Sometimes give you more colors.
or maybe it would just take your power and let you move on,
Or sometimes it would kill you.
Yeah, if you used
sometimes
it
it
poorly.
would if you were like probably a terrible
Which,
drafter.
like
at this
Simon.
point, were you like, did you think like, what the French toast? How is it that this blinding knife gave Andros his power back?
Yeah.
That was mind blowing to me. Like I could
No, it
not
didn't
understand
give him his
that.
power back. It started to take, but it was such a small nick that it only took enough to get him back from the
that's an
the
argument,
halo.
but the thing
But
is
yeah.
the thing is that we're trying to figure out here is that's one of the answers. There's a lot of these answers that we kind of know,
Yeah.
But we're still making assumptions.
Or is it because Andros is a Lightbringer?
But he's not really.
But he is.
But he's
not really.
He is.
Well, the Lightbringer is technically not just one person.
Yeah,
That's exactly it.
Well, no, it's technically one.
It is.
It's all three of them.
And it could have been more.
Well, no, because Kip wasn't the Lightbringer. Kip was the guy from the
dragon.
He's the dragon.
No, but
he's
dragon,
the turtle bear.
There's overlap in those.
But the turtle bear is
matching.
matching prophecies
But
with
no,
the
because
Lightbringer.
even Andros says that the turtle bear he says, the Tyrian's lore is a different person
I think it's all
than the
human
Lightbringer. That's what
speculation.
Andros says.
And
He's like, it must be a different person.
The craziest thing is, like, throughout the book, Andros keeps mumbling, especially now that we got Andros scenes in the book, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But we finally get him. He's always like, father and son and whatever. The youngest son will slay the father and son. And I think it not only had a tie to, like, which son was gonna make some mistakes, but it also had something to do with the fact that maybe the father and the son were the Lightbringer together, all together. And
they need all three. Because if Gavin wasn't there or Dazen, then it would have failed. If Kip wasn't there, it would have failed.
It would have failed.
If Host wasn't there, it would have failed.
So it's pretty amazing. They needed them all. It also does this cool thing where it kind of like it doesn't poo-poo on the fact that they're using prophecy to get this, but it's kind of like you got to be very careful
Poo-poo?
about.
Really? Oh my gosh!
It doesn't our hole and poo on the. It doesn't doo-doo on the.
Nice. I like it.
Much better.
All right, thank you. It doesn't doo-doo on the fact that like prophecy exists, but it highlights that like as a human and the way that you interpret prophecy, you just got to be so darned careful.
Well, it's just like whenever you hear prophecies, they're always just so cryptic that they can be interpreted in many different ways. And then you come across people like Andros and Ophelia or Philia.
Oh, Philia was pretty
And
badass.
like
now I
and
understood
they interpreted it a different, like one way, but then they're like, but we could also interpret it this way. So then it's like, who is right? I don't know. It was really interesting. I feel like, for me personally, the feelings of kind of like respect or likability for Andros, I feel like a lot of that went away in this book for me.
Really?
Oh, went away? Dude,
Yeah.
I actually I started to respect him more in a way. Like, let me describe how.
I was really disappointed in him, actually.
Personally, I don't respect him. His intelligence
that's not what you
is
said.
absolutely bloody absurd. Insert? I said insert, but I meant absurd.
Gotcha.
So I respect the fact that guy,
Or Holm Surd.
yeah, he just freaking thought of everything.
But he didn't.
Every damn thing.
But clearly he didn't.
Well, I think he did for most of it.
But with the prophecies and all that, I thought it was weird that if Kip was meant to be in that beach, he would have been on that beach. Like,
Technically, he was.
because he was older over there. But
Andros was trying to self-fulfill.
yeah, so, like you can't do those with prophecies because you don't know how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. It was funny when he left, too. Kip left, and he was like, that signal was delayed. Technically, he could have still been on this damn...
When
Like,
they-
literally. It's like those comments, and I'm kind of like, oh, you're like pathetic.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but like the decision, the knowing whether it is Kip or it's him was and he's like, he was trying to cover both his bases. He's like, you need to be here. Like, because, and granted, you don't know, but there would have been like little things that could have changed if he wasn't there. So technically it might have been right, and he might have made the right decision to call Kip there, even though Kip was just like, no, this is stupid, I'm leaving.
He might have made
It was
the right-
self-serving.
No, he might have made the right decision because, here's why. Because the timing delay that caused may have impacted so many different events in the battle. So, like, there is some reality to that, but the problem is that the seer says it, right? And then it's like, not only that, remember, the third eye was like, there's too many different paths. So, like, you could give a prophecy on a path. But does that even mean that that's the path that we end up with if it's an old enough prophecy? I don't know that. That's really interesting.
Wouldn't it not make it a prophecy then?
But that's what I'm saying. It's like
They're guessing.
Well, it's saying like
it's almost
you have
like
a future and you have 100 different possibilities, and to get the one you want, like the prophecy are stepping stones to get over there.
Right.
And they don't have to happen. And if they don't happen, there might be other possibilities.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like a seer could give a prophecy like this needs to happen for that, but it's
Right.
like so far ahead. Like
It's like if you get
down,
directions that are like, go to the sign and take a left.
Yeah.
But if you take a right, you can't then also start following the same directions again. It's like, well, I took a right on the first one, but now I'm going to follow the directions perfectly.
changes, so-
it's like each path has its own set of
I guess I can't grasp
criteria.
This is beyond my grasp. Because I feel like if the prophecy says go to the sign and take a left, if you don't take that left, then you're not fulfilling the prophecy.
But
You're not.
And therefore that prophecy
right.
is not a prophecy, or you're not the person that is talking about.
But I think what he's saying is that the prophecy
Maybe
could
that's why it could be many Lightbringers.
the prophecy could potentially also just be pointing out, if you want this outcome, these are the steps that you need to take.
Yeah.
Because, it's still prophecy, because a person that doesn't know prophecy, that can't see the future at all, could give you an outline, and even if you follow it perfectly, it still wouldn't happen. Whereas somebody that has a prophecy could give you an outline, and as long as you follow it, it happens perfectly. But if you don't follow it, it doesn't mean that the prophecy was wrong, it just means that you didn't follow it, I think.
Well, all I could say is either way, this is one of those like semi answered questions in the book. And I think that Brent will most likely in his other stories.
he has to have some sort of like after book, like side.
Well, my understanding from him is we'll talk
there
about
was a
that.
lot of
Wish he
epilogues in this.
Yeah,
And I was happy. Usually you don't get that many epilogues.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like,
There might have been one too many.
There was one too many.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll joke about that
We'll
later.
talk
though.
about it soon.
But the thing is that I think truly he is setting up something. I think his universes are bound, similar to like a Sanderson, because
The Night
the
Angel?
Immortals, I guess they are right now called the Mortals. We don't know what they're really called, right? Like angels. So to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
They. I can only be here at this time, but we know there's 5,000 worlds.
Oh, yeah.
And we know in these 5,000 worlds, like time is different for them, and they're popping all in and out of future and past and different times, and that's why prophecy can work. But then there's like,
Drop it, Jeff. I'm not going to understand.
Manny,
I'm not going to agree.
oh, even the dream. Anyway, point is that whether you're right or it doesn't really matter, right?
It doesn't matter.
We don't know yet. That's
It's all
the
thought
thing,
process.
right? Yeah. So, but like we know, we get a hint maybe that it's tied to the Night Angel trilogy, which was amazing. And I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that maybe Brent's starting that. Which that means we might get a visit. I heard next we're getting a visit back to the Night Angel world.
oh, really?
Really?
That's
Ooh,
what I
that'd be
heard.
awesome.
But that doesn't mean that he's
It'll
not
be the
gonna
same, or-
trail over back to this world. So
Why? He's got a lot more. He's got what? 4,000
More worlds?
998
Yeah, 98
more worlds.
I think he
But
literally
it'd be
said the
cool.
5,000 just in case he did get bored with the world.
But I think that's
You
cool
know,
though,
those.
is he can still keep the like, or Holum could be like someone different, like a different name, but the god, and then the Fallen, and they could be almost like something different in each of the worlds, and some of them could almost be entirely run by like the Fallen, whereas other ones are, because they even said like, oh, the Fallen abandoned this world for like hundreds of years because the blinding knife could kill them.
Yeah,
so
they
they
found out a way
didn't
to
even
kill
show
them.
up, but they were kind of like very probably cautiously jumping in when they had an opportunity to get rid of one of them, and there was just like the one that they were trying. And so if they could have gotten rid of all of them, they're like, hey, we can free reign over this world.
Dude,
So-
I may be jumping the gun, but I'm just going to go with the flow. But how badass was it when you found out that Dazen sacrificed his own memory to be trapping
Oh my god, that was
the-
literally
I know.
the freaking
amazing.
Fallen in those?
he had
and then
7 or something, or 8.
the dead men that he
I
was
thought he had
talking
6.
to.
He had one for each color, but he had black.
I
He
thought
had
it was
black.
8.
Unfreaking believable.
Yeah.
Well, he couldn't make, what was the cells
There
he
was
couldn't make?
apparel.
He could not make apparel. So
And,
Yeah,
and key.
but there's
He didn't have a key.
11, so
by the way,
7 colors and black.
so we do know what? No, they said it chi in the final book. We do know because we were debating that. Remember, like we were listening. We read it and we're listening. It's like chi, key. how do you say this? And then in the one audiobook, the first one, the Blood Mirror, it was said Ki. And then clearly they worked with Simon Vance because in the final book he said Chi.
Oh, did he?
Right?
I don't remember that.
So I think so. Now my memory, but anyway, they said it 2 different ways, but we found out it is Chi.
Chi.
I think it's Chi in the second one,
Chi.
and it was Ki in the
Chi.
Blood
I always
Mirror.
forget.
Anyway, it doesn't matter, but Chi. That he didn't have that.
Kimchi,
one as well.
yes.
Yeah.
Hungry.
But yeah.
How about I'm surprised
And
that
how did we know to like, well, these guys were coming? And they're like, oh, this
So
one's a god.
here's what my thought, right? So the
Really
whole
captured
thing
them.
in the prophecy was if the 2 brothers ended up on the hill, which was
Rock.
Sundered Rock,
Yeah.
which was actually a prison for some of the fallen from the ancient times. Which, by the way, that totally opens up a whole nother perspective of Lucidonius that we're not thinking of. But
Lucidonius, I thought, was that a sea demon now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's
he
the
is.
one
He is.
remaining sea demon.
he's the only one that didn't take the offer.
The one that Gunnar was riding on was Lucidonius' wife, the first of the Black Guard.
Oh, that's awesome.
I thought that guy died, and I'm like, literally,
Well-
he wanted to be the guy riding a sea demon and shooting a cannon from the sea demon.
Yeah, and
ridiculous.
he was. It was amazing.
He was
Oh
insane.
my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, there was once when we got to that point, which I know we're going to talk about later, but I wanted to throw one comment out. Gunner's first mate, that girl who was a really fast swimmer, and then right at the end got
she gets-
eaten by the sharks. I felt very bad for her then at that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, oh.
Every time in this book we had a scene with Gunnar, I just kept thinking of that may very well be the best pirate I've ever seen in my life. He's almost very Jack Sparrow, he's so skilled, but he's also really goofy, and it's
Weird.
is he skilled or is
Oh
he
my
lucky?
god, he was so frustrating for me.
He's-
And
he is,
Brent,
yeah.
and Brent Weeks when he apologized
For all
I
the
was
translations
yes.
of that.
It was so hard to understand sometimes.
It was hard. Reading it, you're just like, wait, I need to go back because.
Oh my god, yeah.
I'm-
Dude, I love it when he gets super offended and he does something crazy, and then 1 hour later he comes back. Oh, this is behind me. Back it happened back then. I'm there. That's how I imagine stuff. He comes back and he's like, I got it.
It was a joke.
You was a joke.
Thought you could pull a fast one on me.
It's I would have really appreciated. I would have really appreciated if I didn't have to take 5 whippings before that happened. But okay, so I was really impressed with that. We'll get back to Dazen obviously later because we're still on this. So the Chromaria, though, Lucidonius obviously did leave the desert people. We know that, but that's what warps everything in the past. So you could tell it's so warped because the Chromaria lost its way. They were actually there to be. Well, they were supposed to be worshiping Arholum, but they were also supposed to be there to protect the world against these
The Banes.
fallen and the Banes and several other things in the world.
But
the
as soon
desert
as-
people weren't wrong, though. There were some things going on. But what I thought was the most interesting about these histories that are so muddy, we don't get the true answers. We get a lot of them, though. But the desert people, they were not aware that became the Order of the Broken
Order of
They
the
were
Broken
not aware that they were being manipulated by the Fallen to do what they were doing right now. Because Grimwoody was he was hell-bent on, we're going to try to kill the nexus of power and bring equality to the world. Of course, Gavin immediately realized that was stupid, because that's just going to... there's going to be a different type of inequality that takes its place, which is true. You don't just take away stuff and then suddenly... It's about,
when you take
fixing
away
the system.
rulers, new rulers come in.
Right.
He just knew it. So, but Grimwoody was hell-bent on this plan, and they have their secret history. And so I kept thinking to myself, so they did think it was bad that the Immortals were coming back, because when the Immortals would come back, they would partner with a human. It would end up being a king in a country where literally they were next to a mortal in a partnership with the human body, and all of that colored drafter would come over, and it would be this weird up and down nexus of imbalance and balance that would... So essentially continuous crazy insanity and war. Even if there were periods where it was okay. So he didn't want that, which is why he wanted to kill the Nexus of Power altogether.
Right.
But it seemed to me that it was evident that they were just being manipulated by the Immortals, similar to the White King.
Oh yeah.
He goes white out.
Especially at the end, he's like, "Oh, my Immortals will save me," or "My Fallen," or whatever.
Yeah, and they just abandoned. They're like, no.
That was a bit anticlimactic.
I thought so too. His end was super, just like, whoa, that just happened. And
Yeah.
Well,
wasn't-
I feel like he really was a little bit insignificant.
Yeah.
He was a pawn, and they let that. But you know what? This is another one of the indicators that like led me to believe there was just too much stuff. There were so many scenes that I wanted all the gritty detail to, and Brent had no time to do it.
Yeah.
He's like, this book will be. It's already twice a book. It could be 4 times a book. I might as well just release 4 books if I were to put all that detail in there.
This is getting a little ahead, but one thing that obviously there was a lot that was done very well, but I think he gave Kip's death scene like due attention. It was so well done.
Let's just go.
I
to it.
almost cried. I've never almost cried in a book.
Oh, I cried.
Ever.
So
I
I've
cried hard.
never. I never have. I have in movies, but not in books. They just don't hit me that way. But I was like, oh damn.
You know, the only reason I'm kind of similar. It's like once you add that touch of visual and that touch of music
With the music, yeah, that's
it's
what
like
gets
suddenly
me.
it clips what. But anyway, he wrote that so perfect that if you had just a touch, oh my dear
It was
God,
so good.
I literally, I was like, shh, crap.
And Tysus was there.
I was like, oh, Holem, you.
Here's another thing.
Damn it.
Here's another thing. If we're going to talk about this, here's another thing that worked for me, but also against me in a way. I had the misfortune of kind of having a semi-spoiler before we read this book, because we were still reading the last one when this one came out. We like just did the record. We just started this one, I think. So this one like came out, and you know the like super don't have a job. I'm gonna take off a couple days when this book comes out. Mega fans were like done with it in a couple days.
Yep.
And I was starting to get like tweet announcements on my phone, like holy shit, oh my god, stuff like that. How could you do this? And I remember seeing that, and Brent Weeks' response was, well, sometimes life doesn't work out how you want it to, or something like that. So like I was totally expecting the whole time to have like a super downer ending. So like I 100% completely was sold on the fact that Kip's gone for good.
You were like, this is another Dumbledore.
Yeah, exactly. I normally I would have read that and been like, well, it's possible that he could be coming back. But I was convinced because of that, like that little bit of a sort of spoiler, that he was just gone for good. So I was just like, there's just 6 hours left.
I was the same boat, Brett. I remember it was right before bed.
Yeah.
When I got to that point, I kept going like, something's gonna happen.
Literally?
Something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Something's gonna happen.
I literally was like teary-eyed.
And then it happened, and I was just like,
Fudge.
He just kept like drafting. He's just like drafted all, pull it all.
I eventually
I literally
turned
could not
it
stop
off.
crying.
I know.
And then I was
So
like,
bad.
I need to go to bed.
Like literally, I was like teary-eyed, and I was like, "Oh, this is so sad." And then when Kara's come, and she's like, crazy. I was just like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god!"
Jeff, I specifically, at about the 6 hours left mark-ish, I specifically had to stop audiobooking.
Yeah.
Any time when I was like within sleeping distance, like within like 6 hours before
Otherwise
going to
you just
sleep,
go.
because I was just like, I'm not gonna want to stop this, and if I do, I'm not gonna be able to sleep.
Yeah.
So I like had to only audiobook in the morning.
There was one night I was probably like 70% of the way, and I think this part of the book happened, and I'm like, no, I need to keep reading. And I think I stayed up till like 2 or something in the morning, and I'd work the next day. And then I'm like, oh man, I must be close. And I look, and I'm like, 80% of the way through the book. And I'm like, I'm not
That's
finishing
gonna be another
this.
4 hours.
So I ended up like working from home the next day and took like an extended lunch.
Working from home.
Working from home. Took a long lunch, read. Oh, so good.
Yeah, that scene was so hard, especially when Kenneth
my
came
gosh,
through,
yeah.
and his struggle on the Holmes Galea, and he almost overcame it.
I
It was so
know.
close. And then
And the whole scene that Orholm gave Dazen with the boy
yeah.
and the mirror.
Yeah,
And I was like, how is this
wiping
gonna
his
connect?
hand
And I was just
on
like,
the,
oh my god.
wiping his hand on it.
No, was it
blood? It was blood because he like
yeah.
touched it and then he's like, ran off.
Okay, so in the grand tradition of me, there was something I was very confused about that I must have missed, and I feel like it's a good place to jump in. I'm actually a little confused on who Kip's father is.
Oh, this is a great comment. So we had a Brett bet on is Karis Kip's mother?
And she definitely is not.
And then...
I remember I was correct.
And then Andros, there's been hints afterwards in the prophecies about father and son and son and son.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's an indication that Andros killed his youngest son too early, because the youngest son was going to kill a father and a son. And the only son that did that was Ximon. Could kill father and a son, but first the son and the son. I forget exactly how the prophecy went, but anyway, there's some indication that maybe, but then there's other indication that Kip is definitely not. So
I thought it was pretty much sure that it was Andros' son.
Yeah, he's Andros'
Yeah,
son.
but we don't actually know it, and it was left open on purpose, because then what happened is
I don't think it was
Kip's
left open.
grandfather, potentially.
Because Andros never ends up telling Kip.
But that doesn't mean that he tells Gavin.
He wanted to tell him at the end, but Kip's like, I don't want to know.
He told
But
Gavin.
doesn't the whatever dude that Gavin was talking to at the top of the mountain, doesn't he refer to Kip as Gavin's son?
No, or Hold'em refers to Kip, yes, as Gavin's son.
Yeah.
Or Hold'em himself. And then, that's only a hint, because what does he mean by that? And then the other thing that happened is the grandfather came and he had a conversation with Andros in secret, told to go by the seer, and we don't know what they talked about. And at the end of it, Andros throws down a genealogy book to Karis and says, your answers are in there. It's a gift to you, and walks away. So there is a lot of very hidden hints that maybe
Karis is his
Kip's real mother.
No, he's not.
So you're saying that they switched?
It's so clear that he's not.
Now listen,
He's saying they switched,
listen,
like-
we're playing devil's advocate, man.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Wait. Are you saying they'll switch like Gavin and Dazen?
Maybe.
As babies?
We don't know.
Karis carried the baby,
Listen. I'm not saying what I believe yet. Okay, I'm just throwing up the evidence because there's a lot of argument on Reddit.
I can tell you what I can tell you what I
Now,
know.
the other thing is that Karis,
I want the bet.
there was almost a year difference in between the pregnancy of, but we don't know exactly how much, but the pregnancy of the librarian versus Karis. They said about 9 months. They're almost a year apart, or like could have been 6 months.
Karis being
having
the younger.
So Karis'
or older
situation
kid.
happening after Andros had already come back from the approved of swooning of
The librarian.
The librarian. So what I'm saying is people are arguing all over the place, and it's less clear than we thought it was.
Well, I think that people who are arguing are just dumb.
Manny, what are your thoughts on Kip's father, though? Do you think that that's up for grabs, or do you think it's Andros?
It is Andros.
Definitely?
Even the stories of him, like, having sex with that librarian and then Philia getting, like, jealous about it, like, there's no confusion. He is the father of Kip.
Why would she be getting...
Why
would
did
she have...
Orphalum refer to Gavin as
Because
the
he was
father?
trying to give him a lesson in which he was saying, like, you don't necessarily have to be his father, but you can still be his father.
Okay, so that's amazing. The devil's advocate there is it's not about whether Andros fathered a son. It's whether Ximon was the son that he fathered or Andros.
Ximon, he would have had to have slept with
Ximon or
Karis.
sorry, whether Andros slept with Ximon or
Yes.
Clear as molasses.
This devil's advocate is really good. I'm almost swayed.
I'm not the devil. I'm only a demon. That's why I'm not so good.
Oh my god.
But you know what I meant. Like, the people are throwing up red flags. Like, it could have been that Ximon is the kid. That was.
Then how did Kip's mother end up with with
That's what we don't know.
Karis's son.
That's why we don't know. And that's
She wasn't in the freaking forest of whatever.
Blood Forest.
Like, and that's the dumbest debate I've ever heard.
And that was the prophecy. That's what the argument is we don't know about like how all that happened. However, what we do know is that Andros forever was always concerned about this youngest son thing. Mm-hmm. And so he killed his youngest son at the time, who was Sebastian. And as it turned out, it could have been Kip or Ximon. And the one that he regrets not killing is Ximon. Mm-hmm. So there's some unique like eggs thrown in to just give us doubt. Now whether that's
Oh my God.
What's wrong?
He almost dropped his wine.
Oh, okay. God, don't do that. Anyway, we don't have the answer. That's all I'm saying.
I disagree with you.
Okay. But I may disagree as well.
Well,
I'm just
Manny,
throwing it out there.
on the flip side, even though there can be multiple Lightbringers, wouldn't the prophecy then say that Kip is the Lightbringer, but the other brother said, yeah, I would have been the Lightbringer or a Lightbringer. So
Sebastian did say.
So Sebastian isn't the youngest potentially.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, or is the youngest potentially? No, because Ximon would definitely still be younger, and he's definitely
Simon's not a son of Andros.
He's not?
No. Well, that's what the debate is.
I know. I'm
Anyway,
confused.
that's what the debate is. People are debating that there is something in the
Somehow,
Gianna
so
report,
wait, let's just
and-
clear it up. There's a debate that somehow Ximon and Kip as babies were swapped.
somehow. Yeah.
So there
That makes a
isn't-
lot of sense.
So Karis does have a kid with Gavin, and Andros has a kid
With the
Well, he has a
librarian.
kid.
To be fair,
Andros
it
has
does
a kid
make
with a
more
librarian.
sense.
She has a kid, but the genealogy report may have indicated that
Even though this isn't how genes always work, it does make more sense temperamentally that Ximon would be Andros' son than Kip would.
No, Karis
I don't
is
think
super,
so.
like hot-headed too.
Correct.
She's
Yeah,
a
but
blood
Gavin?
drafter.
Are you kidding me?
Dazen.
No,
No, because it was Gavin. It was the real Gavin.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the debate. That's another part of
It's the real Gavin's
Yeah,
son.
isn't there a debate about that too?
Well,
Why
actually,
would there be
most
debate
people,
on that?
most
'Cause
people
Karis should
do
know who
say
raped
that
her.
it would be real Gavin because of they're trying to find the timelines. Everybody's looking for the timeline in between when Dazen last slept with Karis and when Gavin raped Karis. So, like, there is a debate. But it seems to be that more evidence in the timeline indicates that Gavin is the father, regardless.
But this is where I think that falls
Why would
apart.
Karis know that it was
that it's Gavin's kid when
like,
they're
you're questioning the
potentially
mother?
not.
Oh my
yeah,
God, get
like
the fuck
she
outta
could.
here.
I don't think she would have been like, "Oh, this could be one of them," but just because it's possibly
Dude,
Gavin's,
I've
I'm gonna
seen
go
too
kill my
many
baby.
episodes of Maury then.
You clearly have no. You've seen too many episodes of
I'm
Jerry
just joking.
Springer.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
You are not the father.
Listen, guys. We don't have the real answer. We have what was given to us, and what was given to us is that Andros is the father of Kip. But what I'm saying is that either purposefully or accidentally, there's been little hints thrown in there that maybe that's not accurate, and that's okay.
So my initial question mostly stemmed from what I know that there's going to be always like theories and conspiracy theories and like people digging into the details. But mainly my concern when I asked who's his father was just the fact that Orholm like referred to him as Gavin's kid, and I was a little confused on who the obvious father is.
Yeah.
So whether those have any legitimacy or not is different from my question. Definitely, as far as we know broadly, Andros is Gavin's father. Okay.
Yeah, he definitely is Gavin's father.
And he's
Kip's father. Yeah, Kip's father.
Yeah. Anyway, point.
And Andros did sleep with Ximon, right?
Andrews definitely slept.
Sorry, guys. But anyway, we're interested in your thoughts and theories. For sure, we know that at some point, Brent Weeks maybe
Jeff is interested in your thoughts.
later in the
Don't include me in that.
oh my god.
I don't care what you think.
By the way, I haven't
gonna break your halo.
I haven't actually said what I think on it. Mainly because I had a thought. I voted for the fact that Kip was not from Karis. However, it doesn't matter. We just want to hear what you think. And
Also, do we want to wrap that one up since we have it? Who voted for what?
We're going to do Brett Bets in
At the end.
its own episode.
Yeah, we'll do Brett Bets in its own.
And I got a lot of Brett Bets right, motherfucker.
I unfortunately
For all those
I think
haters,
I lost all those somehow.
for all those haters that were hating on me,
the
You
official
sneak us.
episode will come out, and we will see what the score is overall. Okay.
Manny's remembering like the 2 he got correct. He's forgetting the like 80 that he got wrong.
I couldn't remember any that I got correct from the first time. I actually know that I got some right.
All right,
Maybe it's the reverse of last time because you ended up doing better than you thought last time. This time you're gonna end up doing worse than you thought.
I'm overzealous.
Yeah. So is there any, we're not necessarily in a rush, but we're coming to the end of part 1 of our discussion. So is there any other thoughts? So we're going to leave that open. We want to hear your commentary on your thoughts. Obviously, there's a slew of evidence one way and a little tiny evidence that are maybe thrown in to throw us for a loop.
Yeah.
But we want to know what you think anyway.
Jeff does.
Who's the Lightbringer? All three?
All three.
All 3.
I think all 3.
I'm
too.
going with all 3.
I think it's Gavin. I think it's Dazen, and actually, I'm kind of leaning more towards Andros, and then Kip was the dragon, the dragon guy
The
from
turtle
the
bear?
Blood
That
Forest.
they're separate.
They're separate, and they're not the same. And I think Andros was.
I think that Andros had an inkling that the turtle bear was the same, which is why when he saw the mark on Kip, he was like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
And it reminded him exactly of that painting of that his father-in-law
Yeah.
was obsessed with. But no, I think it's all 3. Like all 3 of them had a part in what took place, and without one of them, the other 2 would not have been able to complete it.
I think that all 3 of them had a part, but Kip is the actual Lightbringer. And when I say that, I mean that it was very evident that like they all needed each other, and that had to do with the father and the son thing, or something like that. But
Like a lamp needs an outlet, but the outlet's not the lamp.
But the actual Lightbringer was either going to be Sebastian,
Like the Lightbringer needs its supporting cast, but,
but
they're
because
not the Lightbringer
Sebastian
it
was
needs to be.
sacrificed early.
Yeah, it makes it interesting. Like, could there have been multiple Lightbringers? Like, oh, this guy didn't work out, so we have these other 5 people all racing
Ready. Yeah.
to be the Lightbringer, going through tests, and pretty much whoever survives.
That's what I think.
At
But
the
then
end
by
is the
Manny's
Lightbringer.
logic, but then they wouldn't be the Lightbringer.
Yeah.
No, I think that if there was multiple people that could be,
Yeah.
then the person that doesn't do what the or doesn't fulfill what the prophecy says is already taking themselves away from being it. So the prophecy has to be correct for it to be a prophecy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if someone makes a decision that's opposite of it, they're no longer the prophesized person. That's what
But then why-
that's what my statement was.
I think
In
the
that
only
timeline.
downside of that is then why even worry about prophecy, because it's gonna happen,
No.
right?
No. It's
But if
just
it's
a
not,
possibility.
because if it's
explained
Manny
it.
said if
I
it's
explained
wrong,
it
then it's not a
before.
prophecy.
then it's not that
I
person.
disagree
That
with
person
that.
is not the
But
prophesized person.
if there's a prophecy that this will happen, right? So then why even worry that, like, so you're saying there's no possibility that everything goes wrong?
I don't think so.
No,
You think it's
I
100%
can
it's
be
gonna go
stopped.
right.
Like, this is the best chance you have, and you can still fail, and the prophecy would still be right, but the person failed.
Well, that's
Andros
interesting.
seems to think that you could have failed at being.
Yeah.
So
Well,
his
that's because
belief is
he's-
that you failed to fulfill the prophecy, therefore you weren't. And
Because
I'm
there's
in the
another
queue.
prophecy, too. If Kip didn't succeed, there'd been, 1,000 years of darkness,
Yeah.
or whatever they called it.
Exactly.
If prophecies have to be a guaranteed outcome,
but even
then
this one had
there'd
two
be
outcomes.
there'd be no purpose of prophecy.
Yeah.
I think it's to provide guidance so that you take the right paths in order to realize that future that's laid out in the prophecy. But if you don't follow it, it doesn't mean the prophecy was
that's
wrong.
what I think, that the
It just
prophecy
means
can
that
be not happen.
you didn't follow
Yeah,
the
because
Yeah, the
prophecy.
prophecy
I keep
can
thinking
possibly not
of the Wheel of Time, because they have so many prophecies in
Yeah.
that book. And like,
Yeah.
They're always debating
Yeah.
about how
There's the vein.
does it.
It's like,
yeah.
oh, if there's you were Dragon Ball, you would have been there because he was born on Dragon Mount.
Yeah.
And he didn't know it, but it ended up being true. And
Yeah.
he tried to force prophecies and whatnot.
And it backfired
Yeah.
horribly. Yeah.
It's one of those things where we're going to be in debate about it, but I think he kind of is.
I don't really think
It
that's
has
a
to
debate
do
about
with
it.
the dying twice. It has to do with the king killings.
God killing.
Andros,
God
pretty much
killing.
you could say, didn't die, but nearly died twice.
Nearly died is not the
that-
same thing as dying.
Yeah, but Kip only died once.
No, he died twice.
When was the first time?
Teia brought him back.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And the second time when he was burned at the stake. And then God brought him back.
Then that depends on how you interpret dying.
Because he never died.
Hank or home.
Because if you think about it, then Gavin also died twice. He died first when he closed off his memories, and he became a different person, or thought that he became a different person, and then when he totally lost like all faith in himself at the end, and then he regained it when he
You
met
could argue
Valhalla.
that.
So that's what I'm saying. Like,
The other thing you could argue is that...
It's got a very similar prophecy and death. Is
but you know who didn't die twice no matter what?
If you come back alive, you weren't dead.
Andros didn't die twice no matter what.
Well, I mean, there was a time that he was poisoned, and there was when he was
That's just almost
right
dying.
and got stabbed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is just almost
He
dying.
threw it up and took the medicine. I'm like, no, that's not dying.
Did he take was it medicine, or was it that he was
No, he recognized
building his immunity?
tolerance. He'd been building his immunity. He threw up the majority of the poison immediately, and then I think he had some kind of a counter.
But I thought there was no counter to it. I thought he just threw it up, and he's like, I've been building up my immunity.
something
or
like
something.
that. But anyway, it could be that they all three are, getting all the prophecies. But I'm trying to think of one that Kip actually didn't do that you can argue really obscurely that the others might have, but Kip.
Well, he didn't
did
bring.
most.
So during the final battle, Andros is the one that brought the light to save the satraps. But
Depends
you
on
could
what
say
the white light that Kip brought.
is what connected Gavin to be able
Exactly.
to bring the
So
light back.
my opinion is that one's easily debatable.
Yeah.
But
all three of them brought the light.
Yeah.
what's that?
I said all three of them brought the light.
All three of them brought
in
the
different
light,
ways.
but didn't Kip bring it in a manner that like made all other light that has ever been brought just look like a candle or somebody said
No,
something
that
like
was
that?
that was Gavin.
Gavin's stuff was.
No, what Kip did
died
made
under-
everything that Gavin's ever done.
Kip absorbed all of the light, and then
No, he connected the chi. He used the chi to touch all the mirrors that Gavin wouldn't have known about. But that's, I think, because he absorbed the chi bane. Because when the fire was on him, or the light, the eye, whatever he was burning, the chi bane broke apart, and he got like a surge of chi power, and he used the chi to push back out to all the mirrors that Gavin then was able to trace to find the mirrors. And he's like, I would have never had that accuracy, because Kip has the really fine detail. He's like,
And Gavin has just
he's
the raw
got the
power.
brute force. He's like, I never would have been able to do that.
But I thought I remember. I
didn't know
could be
they
remembering it
existed, so-
improperly, but I thought I remember hearing like a line in the book where he said, and like what, like where Gavin's like talking to Orholm, he's like, "Oh, what was that?" or something like that. Like that's.
I thought this one Kip
I thought-
drafted right.
The
White Luxon, the more than anyo's pretty
Ever
much ever
done,
drafted, and just
yeah.
shot it.
I mean,
out into-
before that point, no one has ever drafted that much.
But Gavin
I think.
did more than that after that.
Well, he used the tower for fuel.
He
Gotcha.
pulled all the white from
Yeah.
the tower.
Gotcha. So up to that point, it was the most, but then Gavin ended up making him look
Well,
like a little
actually,
bitch
it was
again.
Kip. It was Kip's White Luxon.
Yeah.
So he just recast all.
No,
of the...
because he pulled all the black out of the tower, and then the tower was completely white,
White,
and then he
and then
pulled
he
all
pulled
the
the white.
black, the white out of the
Yeah.
tower.
But either way, the argument is the biggest argument, in my opinion, is that that's all debatable stuff, and Kip's actually fulfilled most of the real prophecy, like the stuff. If you could kind of like debate all through,
But we'd have to look at it and see what, because that's the thing is we don't have access to all the prophecies, which would be cool. Brent Weeks, if he put out something that like these were the prophecies, a
cheat sheet.
If you're watching this game, just tell him I'm right.
He must prophecy cheat sheet, prophecy cheat sheet.
The one thing though is we don't know, because Andros for the longest time had assumed they were the same. The guy from the Blood Forest, the dragon, and
They
the
might have been
Lightbringer.
different.
And if they are different, then we're taking some of the dragon stuff and attributing it to Kip when that's not the Lightbringer's prophecies.
I don't know if you guys remember all the way from book 1 or 2. I think it might have been 2 actually. There's a scene where they're doing like this big. The Luxiets are doing this big like. I guess ceremony, and they talk about the Lightbringer and the Light Giver.
Oh yeah.
And they just say it like one-off-ish, and we don't hear it a ton again. But
That could be
Something else.
That would make me think it's gonna be
Somebody
like,
who brings light versus gives it.
well, that would make me think it's like
Wait.
Gavin's the light giver and
Kip is the
Andros.
light.
What if
the
Andros is the light
bringer.
giver?
Oh.
Giving everybody light.
Oh, that's true.
You know?
the giving
I
the
don't
light, but Andros gave it to him.
Anyway, point is, there's a lot of stuff. So we're definitely interested to hear your thoughts. We're gonna go ahead and take a quick break, and then get on to round 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cheers.
Still got a lot of people to talk about.
We can even talk about the freaking light.
God, I was talking about anybody.
Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Lit Literature. If you liked us, please check out our social media at Lit Literature 1 at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't hesitate to join in on the conversation. We appreciate the conversation, the questions, book recommendations, anything of that sort. Join in right on the social media websites. And don't forget to check us out at our website, litliterature.com, and our upcoming projects, though there aren't many now besides Lit Literature, you can find at lyket.net, Lyket. We do have a Patreon account, but if you truly want to support us, please like and share. Cheers.